Sorry, you don't want to know.
You don't want to know.
It's interesting, huh?
All right, we've got head coach Bentley Carnell. We'll just jump right into questions. Go ahead, Jonathan.
This will be the first time that a team from Philadelphia and a team from Pittsburgh have played against each other in a game like this in a long time. And I'm just curious, for you over the years, like when St. Louis played Kansas City for the first time, obviously that was a much bigger deal than this is going to be. But what did that feel like, being on that side as sort of the upstart against the established, trying to build a rivalry?
Yeah, I think, and I always said it, in order for something to become a rivalry, there needs to become a history. So I think this is the first step towards creating history and creating, you need a result. You need something to establish, an event to take place, and tomorrow we have that first event. So, I think it's premature to start talking about rivalries, but two Pennsylvania teams coming against each other, for sure I think there's a little bit of pride at stake, and they've got a lot to prove. We want to continue our journey. It's always the massive game for them. I think they're the furthest, non-MLS team that's got to this point now. So they've had a great run. They are having a great run. So, and we told the boys, no sense in any underestimation, because we went through what we did to get to this point last time around against Indies. So, by no means are we going to, let the guards down, for example. This is a serious game, and we're treating it as such.
And I guess the other example would be back in your playing days, looking at the Pokal games you played when you went into Bayern, when you went into Hamburg, these huge clubs. I mean, Stuttgart's not small, but
sure.
What was that like going in there?
Yeah, listen, I mean, in some sense, you can always play free as the underdog. You have no pressure. And I think that's the way that they're going to come out tomorrow. I think they're just trying to continue their journey, and they're proud of that journey so far. And, I think for us, we always have to make a result. We have to force a result. We have to force the issue in certain ways. And we can't, especially playing at home, we have to, dictate the terms on our turf. And, especially when we have the schedule that we've had up until now.
Great.
Coach, hi. And apologies if you've already been asked this question and have answered it, but I'm intrigued by your thoughts on the Open Cup, playing in this tournament, knowing its history, versus playing in, like, let's say a Leagues Cup or a Champions Cup game. What is it about this game that you think makes it so important, and then what do you tell the players?
I think it's tradition. Anything that you speak about tradition, and it's gone through generations, and I think that's the beauty of it, right? And I think you can almost put the full stop there. There's a lot, and obviously, when we took the expansion team in St. Louis, and there was all that history of the 50s St. Louis team that did great things for the U.S. and that memorable result against England. So, but then you bring it, just I think of like how the Sons of Ben was created, before a soccer team was even in the area. So it just starts with tradition, and then you can start talking about, what it means to people, and talking like the Sullivans. I think you told, us about the granddad playing and their dad playing and what have you. So, for me, it's something also about silverware. You want to win the next game. You're playing in a professional sport. You want to be as competitive as possible. And it's a couple games to a final, and it's a couple games to lifting silverware, and it's a couple games to playing in or qualifying for a Champions League or CONCACAF Champions League berth. So these are some of the things that are applicable to us, and every next game we play, we want to win.
So, Coach, how do you think your players have handled this schedule so far in the month?
Yeah, it hasn't been easy for sure. It's taxing, and I don't feel we've had any training days. It's just been recovery, get a few guys out there, go through a few motions and routines, and we're back in and on the regen tables and in the video room, and so it's more learning tools around this, the training ground or in the training ground, I would say, as opposed to on the training ground. So on that part, everyone's been fully engaged, and so far we're managing a couple players, but other than that, I think we've turned around pretty well. And in order to be competitive.
Any concern about potential fatigue at all?
No, I think we found a good balance between who we've been playing, and we've been rotating a little bit, and for us principles are most important, right? So the personnel may change, but within the action the principles stay the same, and the players understand their roles, and we try and be as clear as possible. to give them their roles prior to, despite the lack of training time, and the players are being fully bought in. Yeah.
In terms of the mentality, with the exception of probably that first half against Galaxy, you guys haven't had many letdowns, even when there's been traps for letdowns. I wonder, what do you think that says about the mentality of the group, and what is it about the group that lends itself to them bringing this intensity?
Yeah, I don't think the first half, just because we weren't winning, doesn't mean we have bad mentality, right? So I think the players just weren't having their way, right? And we got punished on 2 occasions. We didn't take our chances. We didn't dictate the terms in our house. But yeah, it had nothing to do with mentality.
What has been good about the mentality from your perspective?
Yeah, just being resilient, being open to growth. I think that's also mentality, being open to new ideas and being open for change. And with change becomes opportunity. And I think the players have embraced that, and they understand it now. And I think we 14 games deep, and I think it's starting to make sense to everyone in the building.
Is Kai okay after Saturday?
Kai's fine. Will be eligible.
The Gold Cup preliminary lists came out yesterday, and Quinn Sullivan was in there, as we all figured he might be. Where do you see where he is right now, and should he be in that conversation? What do you think?
Yeah, I think when you tie first or second for assists in the MLS, and you think you're contributing every week, and you're bringing the performance that he has, not just this season, but over the course of a season, or 18 months now, I would say. He's been a competitor. He's been a winner, and then you start getting your name in the hat. Yeah, I'm excited for Quinn, and hopefully they call his name in the final roster.
So, he can play in this midfield setup a sort of a wider role than he was in the Diamond in the past. And the U.S. plays a fairly standard 4-3-3 as these things go. Do you think his ability to get a little wider now is helping his stock?
Who plays a 4-3-3? Sorry?
But the U.S. does.
Oh, the U.S. national team. Yeah. So, I a little bit disagree with the way we use our 10s, I would call them. In the classic American, it's 7-11. We don't play like that. We don't have, we prefer narrow, so 4-2-2 narrow. And I think that's what we've positioned the guys in, whether it's been Indy or Quinn. At times we might roll out and create a bit of width on the ball side. So, yeah, he has weapons, whether he's receiving tight between the lines or he's running at fullbacks or running at opposition defenders. And he can do it all. He can supply, he can shoot, he can cross, he can dribble. So he has a good range of when to do what, and I think that decision making has brought him into this window of selection.
Coach, a quick 2-part question for you. The first one is about Nathan Hariel, and the way he's been able to play coming off of injury, and also getting a preliminary call-up too. And then also, I'm intrigued on your thoughts on what is the role of Indiana Vasilin within your starting 11.
Yeah, so I think with regards to Nate, it was really unfortunate timing of him, because we know the type of player he is around the group, and we know what qualities he has, that he's had to now be a right back, at times a left back, at times a center back, against St. Louis as a right 10. We've had him in multiple positions, but that's because of the qualities that he possesses as a player. So, he's principally based and all-rounder mentality. So, and he's excellent in the air, and we've needed him, and he's been important in a couple of the big shutouts that we've had at center back. So, that he can bring that to his game and be an option for the team no matter what. Is credit to him, which then gets him, it's a little unfair because he's not in his position week in, week out. So whoever's looking, Poch or whoever's looking at him and his qualities, we just hope that they see the overall arching, benefit of having a player like that in the roster. So I think with Indy, I think it's also a 2-part thing. There's Indy off the field and Indy on the field. Indy off the field, just a great teammate. He's a bundle of joy, energy. He brings good spirit around the training environment, and that's massive. You know, the buy-in from his teammates just to be on board. It's never easy coming into a new environment, and he's embraced it. And I think the players have embraced him. And then he's brought some quality on the field. So, you know, I think he can always double down with set pieces. He can always be a threat on the dribble, but his work rate, and he reads the triggers on the press very well. So, again, another all-rounder. We've used him at 6. We've used him at 10. We can use him as a hanging striker. So, you know, there's different ways and opportunities to use Indy.
On the injury front, how's Andre, and any updates on Jan's progress?
Yeah, Jan is still progressing. I don't believe he started anything with the ball yet. So it's not, I mean, he really escalated really quickly after the operation, and now it's just been a continual growth, I would say, or rehabilitation. He's still a little bit away from any ball work or team connectedness at the moment. Andre's progressing every day, and we'll see how we, you know, taper off towards the end of the week, and see if he's eligible for anything over the weekend or continuing it through to next week.
Is he able to be back training?
Like I said, we're just continuing, we're monitoring. He's on the field, he's doing his things with Phil. Yeah, he's not with the team as yet.
And then Coach, we just have one more on Zoom.
Sure. Julian?
Thanks, Nico. Hi, Bradley. Your counterpart tomorrow, Bob Lilly, PA native, he's amassed a lot of success in his 24 years, including nearly a 67% win percentage and over 100 wins in Pittsburgh. What stands out to you about him as a head coach?
Well, I think to stay in a position as long, you know, he's, you know, obviously a good coach, and obviously gets the buy-in of his team over longevity, and that's a great mark of a good coach who's able to adapt through the different years and the different seasons. So that's credit to him, and what he's done with this team now is be very competitive. I mean, they haven't had the results as of late in the USL, but they can show that they can, even although New York City were a man down, they can show that they can compete at this level, and they held their own for very long, and then to score the winner later on. So, you know, they're very aggressive. They have the highest pressures in the USL. You know, they supply dangerous balls in the box. They're a good crossing team. There's a lot of things that they got going for them. So, you know, it's an opponent we have to take really seriously tomorrow.